Hey everyone, welcome back. So we're going to cover IRES Energy, and we're going to do a deep dive on them right now. We're going to look at the miners they have, how many they got coming up. We'll take a look at their stock price, earnings potential, all of this. So this is going to be maybe like 15, 20, 25-minute long video. We'll see how it goes. But as always, guys, this is for entertainment, not financial advice. Always do your own research. Don't fall for scams, and spam posts get reported and deleted. All right, so let's get into the numbers here, or let's take a look at IRES Energy. So IRES Energy is an Australian Bitcoin mining facility company that has operations in Northern America and some other places that they're working on right now. So Bitcoin, basically they're saying Bitcoin mining done right. Their operations are pretty standard as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing really too proprietary about their systems that I looked at, but they do have obviously a lot in a pipeline. So I'm not going to bore you guys with all of this stuff here. We can take a look at their website and take a look at it from there. The biggest thing I wanted to take a look at here was obviously their leadership team really quick. We'll just go over it quickly here. So Daniel Roberts, co-founder and co-CEO. Daniel has 15 years experience across finance, infrastructure, and renewables. So that's good. Obviously was a second largest individual shareholder in Palisade Investments Partners. So he's got obviously some good connections there, which is good. William Roberts, co-founder and co-CEO. Will has 10 experience across resources, commodities, and real estate. So obviously real estate is going to be a big player in this to get the best locations possible to next door or as close as you can to electricity. Lindsay Ward has 35 years of operational experience in frontline senior business leadership positions. So, obviously a lot of these guys here have a lot of obviously experience in the field and will obviously aid in moving the company forward. David Shaw is the Chief Operating Officer. David has 30 years experience working across the energy, utilities, and resources sectors in the Asia Pac and North America. David is a strategic and operational leader with an extensive background in delivering a portfolio of projects and reliable operations. So, a lot of good people on board, looks like. Joanna Brand is general counsel and company secretary. Dennis, I'm going to butcher his name, I know, Skurnikov, chief technology officer. So Dennis Skurnikov has been the chief technology officer at IRES Energy since October 2021. So he's a new one on board. Skurnikov is a technologist with more than 15 years experience in the cloud and data center service provider space. Mr. Skurnikov has extensive networking background as well, experience operating and architecting a national fiber network with a specialty in enterprise architecture. He has been involved in the design, construction, and management of Tier 3 data centers, acquisitions and mergers, and managing business units in publicly traded companies. Okay. Hopefully he's got some experience with obviously miners. Miners definitely operate differently than regular data centers. And then we got Tom Sparrow, Vice President, Project Delivery. Tom has 35 years experience in large-scale project management and delivery. Tom previously led numerous Canadian federal and provincial infrastructure projects, $3 billion plus since 2008. So a lot of good experience here with all of these folks, so I have no problem with that. Let's take a look at their numbers here really quick. So this is what they provided. The latest release here was back for their November numbers. They just went public here in the last month. November 17th is when they went public on NASDAQ. And they raised a lot of cash to obviously fund their CapEx expenditures. So right now they are at 17.16. They were up 1.18% on Thursday. They obviously were a lot higher here. They were at, let me see if I can, they were at 28.25 when they went public and have fallen substantially since then to 12. So almost 50%, 55% loss in value just in the last couple of weeks here from going public. But they have been, looks like kind of rebounding here a little bit in the last couple of days, which is good to see. So if we get into the numbers here on them, and then you can also take a look. They don't have a lot of pictures as far as what their sites look like, but they do have a link here someplace. Where is that link that I saw? It was down here. So this is on their website. If you go to their website, investors, and get the latest news updates, you can actually see the video here for their facility. And in there, I was able to learn that they actually have their own fab shop, which is kind of interesting. They don't have to wait on secondary suppliers. And let me zoom this in for you guys so you guys can see. They don't have to wait on secondary suppliers to get, whether it's racks, any fabricating metal work done or anything like that. They can just do that out in their own facility and get it installed into their basically data centers. So that was, I thought, a nice plus. They have obviously iterated on their versions of their mining facilities. So they started out mining with just regular pods. These shipping containers changed out basically, or implemented to mine Bitcoin with just racks of Bitcoins and then air being pushed through. And then they tried doing different things with ductwork and things like that. And you'll see that in the video here. So now they progressed to just a regular straight building, kind of like Hive has. Who else has this? Hive, Mara, Riot. Some of the other miners also have these just long buildings. You got basically a hot channel in the middle, cold air being blown in from the inside, from the outside through the miners, going out through the roof in these new kind of facilities. They didn't provide anything as far as immersion cooling. I haven't seen anything on that. If you guys saw any kind of releases on that or news releases, send them my way. I'd love to see it, see how much they're going to be getting to. But obviously they're new. There wasn't a lot of information going back because they are so new on the public scene since November. So there wasn't a lot of press releases or anything like that I could go through. So I'm going basically through all of these numbers here that they provided and trying to make my numbers work here with them. All right. So a little explanation there. So let's take a look at the numbers here. So Iris is obviously on track to become one of the largest Bitcoin miners with 15.2 exahash by the end. I think it's like the third quarter or second quarter of 2023. So they have a long ways to go. We'll figure out, we'll take a look at how much they have now, how much they're going to have in the future, and things like that. So obviously, key highlights for the November 2021 update. So they obviously successfully had a completion of the 232 million NASDAQ IPO. JP Morgan, Canaccord, Genuity, and Citigroup acted as lead book running managers on that. They have secured 15.2 exahash of miners secured, but that's obviously going to be over the next basically a year and a half or so, year and 3 quarters, something like that. It's going to be 2022, 2023, and then we'll see if they obviously secure anything else going forward. We also know that Mara has secured some more miners that they're going to be installing. They're going to be like at 23 exahash by the time these guys are at 15. So there's arms race, like I keep saying, with these miners. So they obviously have to either keep up or they will languish. So currently they're operating at 0.7 exahash right here, and they are going to be 0.8 exahash to be 0.8 exahash is to be shipped in 2021. So they got 2,841 Bitmain S19J Pro miners currently in transit, and 2,290 Bitmain S19J Pros, and 3,122 Bitmain S19J miners scheduled for delivery December. So when we look at my numbers, we'll actually see that. And then they have 5.7 exahash is to be shipped in 2022. And that's 42,575 of the Bitmain S19J Pro miners and the 15,705 of the Bitmain S9J miners. So a lot of obviously Bitmain miners. And then they got 8 exahash to be shipped in 2023, which is basically 80,294 Bitmain S19J Pro miners. So obviously, big concern there is you got a lot of miners that are going to be installed. So you need to build out your infrastructure, your data centers, and things like that to get those ready for it. Obviously, if you have hiccups anywhere in the supply chain, whether it's from the manufacturers of your data centers for your buildings or anything like that, that is obviously going to lead to delays of things getting installed. And it could be actually that it won't be until possibly 2024 when all of this stuff gets installed. So something to be mindful of. So the current operations, they are at average 657 petahash average operating hash rate in November, powered by 98% renewable energy, which is good. They mined 113 Bitcoin during the month and generated monthly operating revenue of 6.6 million. And that was obviously with the price of Bitcoin at the end of November. Construction development. So construction continues to progress at McKinsey, British Columbia, Canada, expected to deliver capacity of 1.5 exahash, which is 50 megawatts in 2022. Broke ground at Prince George, British Columbia, expected to deliver a capacity of 1.4 exahash, 50 megawatts in 2022, and an expansion to 2.4 exahash, 85 megawatts in 2023. And then they also have development continues to on a range of additional sites which have been secured across Canada, USA, and Asia Pacific. Development on these sites is expected to support up to 1 gigawatt of aggregate power capacity to install the company's 15.2 exahash of miners. So obviously a lot of numbers there, a lot of gigawatts, megawatts, and hash rates. So corporate update on November 19th, Iris Energy successfully completed a 232 million IPO, which we know net proceeds from the IPO is going to be primarily used to fund the company's CapEx initiatives, including miner purchases, which is the 15.2. And then the construction of the company's proprietary specialized data centers. I saw nothing proprietary there. They do have some things there that are basically just added on little tricks possibly to keep the air from getting not too cold with the miners sucking them in, causing problems. Obviously, I think well, I'll get into it here later on. Let me see here. So they're talking about Lindsay Ward as president, Mike Alfred as non-executive director. And then we got some updates, obviously, on the Canal Flats update, 0.7 exahash, 30 megawatt, British Columbia, Canada. So Canal Flats is 100% owned and operated by IREN and has been operating since 2019. The project includes 10 acres of freehold land and on-site 30 megawatt substation, specialized data centers, a fabrication facility, and ancillary infrastructure, including fiber connectivity. And then you got Canal Flats achieved monthly average operating hash rate of 657 in November, powered 98% by renewable. Additional miners being delivered to the site are expected to increase operating hash rate above 700 petahash in December 2021. So that's good. They're obviously growing and getting things ready for the miners to come in. So that's good. Canal Flats' highly efficient specialized data center design is now being rolled out to Mackenzie and Prince George. This proprietary design is expected to allow miners to run at optimized hash rates under all weather conditions, enhance revenue earning opportunities, and extend expected miner life. So the way I think they're looking at it, that it's specialized, the hot air during the wintertime when it's really cold outside, you don't want that hot air or that cold air getting on the miners' circuitry, because you could have obviously condensation and things like that. So you want to mix the air a little bit with some warm air that's being produced, so you don't get it too cold. You want it to be above freezing, like 35 degrees or something like that, so it doesn't freeze actually. So that's kind of what they're talking about, I think, as far as the proprietary, whereas other miners are basically just sucking the cold air out. They don't have any fans blowing air in, but the miners themselves are sucking the air through the outside, through vents and filters, and that's sucking that out and then blowing out through the top. So that's, I think, the only difference there is the way that they're doing the air exchange. Let's see, so you can watch the video there, and it's kind of interesting, kind of cool to see there, so I highly recommend you guys watch the video there. And then Mackenzie update, so 1.5 exahash, 50 megawatt, British Columbia. Construction continued to progress on the company's 1.5 exahash, 50 megawatt site in Mackenzie. Foundation works for the data centers are nearing completion, so that's the concrete being poured, with construction of the building scheduled to commence in the next 6 weeks. The first 0.3 exahash, 9 megawatts remaining on track for commissioning during Q2. Followed by a full ramp up to 1.5 exahash during Q3 of 2022. So we're at least 9 months out before that one's is fully operational. Upon completion, the specialized data centers are expected to power an additional 15,000 Bitmain S19J Pro miners, generating 1.5 exahash of incremental hash rate and adding approximately 15 direct full-time local jobs to Mackenzie. So that's great. And then Prince George update. So same thing. Probably not until Q3 of 2022, which will be an additional 1 exahash, 35 megawatts, coming online in 2023. Upon completion, the specialized data centers are expected to power an additional 25,000 Bitmain S19J Pros and S19J miners, generating 2.4 exahash of incremental hash rate and adding approximately 20 full-time jobs. It's great. And then obviously we have the future development here. So development works continued on a range of additional sites, which have been secured across Canada, USA, Asia Pacific. Development on those sites expected to support up to 1 gigawatt. So we've covered that a little bit. So yeah, they have a ways to go. Obviously, since they're generating 2.4 here, 1.5. So you're at 3.9, and then you got this one at, what's that one going to be at? 700. It doesn't say how much it's going to be up to. Excuse me. So yeah, they obviously have a ways to go before they can reach full capacity, and they got to build out quick. Let me see. Okay. Technical commentary. So operational performance remains strong during the November, with operational hash rate continuing to increase, slightly impacted at the end of month due to scheduled outage and firmware updates on some of the miners. Revenue per Bitcoin mined increased by 1%, with revenue down 10% from October 2021, primarily due to one less day in the period, combined with an increase in the network difficulty. Average applied global hash rate increased from 142 exahash to 159. And I keep talking to you guys about this every time I do a video update on any of the miners. Hash rate is king. Hash rate continues to go up. These miners are going to be making less unless they're getting miners installed. So here we got their operating power usage. average hash rate, so this is the one I really want to look at here, is 549. And then we can do some calculations on how much they're actually megawatts usage compared to their hash rate or petahash, and we can figure that out. So September was 549, October was 649, which was a nice increase. Had a slight increase here in November 2021 with 657, so we were only up, what is that, 8 petahash up for the month. Obviously, they're getting more miners installed this month, so we'll see how that plays out. Here is their financials, unaudited, I can't say the word. Okay, so Bitcoin mined here is 113 for September, 127 in October, and 113 in November. So obviously, hash rate has increased. You obviously want to keep that, and that's basically because, well, hash rate increased and you are making less, so you got to get more miners installed to stay ahead of the curve here. Mining revenue was 5 million, it looks like, for September. October was 7.3 million, and November was obviously down a little bit to 6.5. Like I said, they had some updates that they had to do and things like that. And then we got some electricity costs in here as well. Revenue per Bitcoin was calculated at 44.8, 57.6, and 58.3. So it's nice that they're providing all this information. I think this is probably the best report that I've seen from the miners here. They provide a lot of useful information as far as their megawatts usage, their price that they're using for the Bitcoin that they're mining, revenue from the Bitcoin, electricity costs. Bravo to them for that. So that's great. Let's continue on here. So miner shipping schedule is as following. We'll take a look at also my numbers here. So we got a total of 154,597 units. They are going to be at 15.152 exahash total. And here is their breakdown. So operational right now, they got 657. They're adding more miners in this month as well, which is going to increase their hash rate. So they're going to get that increase. Q4, they're looking to be at 795, or I think adding another one, so they'll be at 1.4. And then Q1 in 2022, they're adding another, it looks like 1 exahash. Q2, another 1 exahash. Q3 is going to be a slow month. It's going to, or Q3 is going to be a slow period, only 659 petahash. And then Q4 is going to be a big one. It's going to be a jump in at 2.8, right around 2.8, if everything works out for them. The infrastructure is built out, miners get installed and shipped, and everything is just, right on track. Then Q1 into 2023, we're looking at 2.6, so that'll be 2.6 exahash. Q2 will be 2.6 as well, exahash, and Q3 will be 2.6 as well, or 2.7 roughly, to get them up to this number here. We're obviously going basically a year and 3/4 out before they are fully into this number here. By that time, like I've said before, by that time, the Bitcoin hash rate could be up 120 or 150, 300% up from where it is right now, especially with Mara, everybody else getting miners installed in 2022. Difficulty is going to go up as well, so something to be mindful of. And then they got some site overview as far as Canal Flats, Mackenzie, and Prince George. And that's about it here. The only thing that I found here that was kind of interesting was down here. So number 4, part of their original mining that they have right now is a mixture of the T17s, 17S Plus miners, 810s, and 811s, which they're estimating to be represented less than 15% of the operating 657 petahash. So this is where I got my numbers from, so you can kind of see that as well. All right, a lot of information there. Let's get into my numbers here on them. This was from my previous video here that I just did. Let's see, where's Iris? There it is. Okay. So here we got all of their miner information when they're coming in. I don't have much information as far as, let me zoom this in for you guys. See if I can make it a little bit better for you to read. 150, there we go. Okay, so they reported that they made 3 on the September ending quarter of 10,371,000 roughly. So I have that in here. They reported they made like 7.3 something million for the year ending June of this year, which leads me to think they weren't mining that much. So I kind of spread it out a little bit over the 2 periods here, but I'm sure I'm guessing this was maybe even less than the 2 million here. Might have been right around maybe 1.5 or something like that. And then the previous 2 quarters were a mixture of the the difference of the two here. But I'm just giving them the benefit of the doubt here. The numbers aren't readily available right now, based that they just came and went public within the last month here. So those numbers will improve, obviously, as the quarters come in, and we'll get more recent numbers and more accurate numbers going forward. But here's what I got them on right now. So if we look at currently, here's what we have currently installed. So we have the T17, 17Ss, A10s, and A11s, and we also have some of the S19J Pros. So I basically worked it out, using straight good old math. This is what they probably have as far as the old miners are, the 2,185. Newer miners, I'm guessing 5,585. We'll see if we can get that number updated when more information is available. And those newer ones are running at 100 terahash. The older ones are running right around 45 terahash, roughly. And then this is how much we're actually making on the miners here. And they are mining for 3 months, 3 months for the S19s. And then the new ones that are being installed here, which will get them another... these are in transit. So that's 2,841 that are in transit right now. That will give another 284 petahash of speed. I gave them basically mining for half a month if they got them installed, towards the middle of the month, something like that. So they'd be mining basically for half of December. That's what I got them at right now. So for the quarter, based on this information, I don't know if these got installed as well, because these are scheduled to be installed this month, but I just don't know if they are. So we can maybe even put those down for maybe 0.1 or 1/10 of a month mining roughly, if they do get installed at all. So that would get us up to about 18 million for the quarter here, based on where Bitcoin's price is at right now. And I should probably update that, because Bitcoin has gone up to 50,000, I think. If I look at settings, what are we using for Bitcoin? No, we're not too far off. We're at 50,000. I think it's 50,800. So we're really close, not too far off. So if we look at it here, this is what we have. This was planned for 2022. So we have all of these miners here planned, and then all of these for Q2, Q3, and then Q4. And then finally we got 2023, Q1, Q2, and Q3. Nothing has been provided for Q4. So we have all this information. We obviously don't have a lot of data as far as their historical price, since they went public on the November 17th. So we can't look back too far, but we do see obviously a trend going down here. And my numbers are an opposite from what you guys are used to seeing. They go from the older days to the newest days, which I'm using the 23rd as the last day, which was Thursday that the market was open on. So if we look at some of the data here, currently hash rate will be, if everything gets installed, will be at 1.45 exahash roughly. Future hash rate is going to be 15, exahash. And so they're right now 9.58% of their future hash rate has been installed. Number of miners, roughly, I'm calculating to 16,000, and their hash rate average per miner is 90,000, which isn't bad, which is actually pretty good. But based on these numbers, right now at the current stock price at 1716, market cap of almost 1 billion. You do have a small institutional percentage ownership in that. It's 5.5%. You got one institution basically buying into it, and then shares out is 55 million. Based on my numbers, I always go pretty conservative, so I use a 50% based on gross revenue to come up with possible net income, basically at price to earnings multiple of 20, and then also 75% just to. I think this one's probably more accurate than at 50%, unless they just blow their money like crazy. And using also a price to earnings multiple of 20, I see them at 969 right now, and they're at 1716 right now, just based on that current hash rate. But it can obviously change relatively quickly because of the future hash rate that they do have coming in. So if we include some of the miners here that are scheduled for Q1, if we include those are going to be mining for possibly 1.5 months, roughly, depending on when they get installed, 1.5. You can quickly see how their income increases at the current, if Bitcoin stays where it's at, along with the hash rate. Their income quickly increases based on these numbers here, and we might be getting close to that actual valuation that they should be at, which is closer, but not there yet. So I think investors are still giving the benefit of the doubt based on future hash rate, not the current hash rate, which is, I would have them at 1352 right now, if everything got installed in Q1, or at least I call it Q1. I think that would be probably their Q3 based on when they do their financials, I think. But we'll leave it at 0 for right now. So based on that, I do see them as being way overvalued, at least, 100% more overvalued than they really should be, or close to that. Given the price is at 1760, I have them 969 based on the hash rate that they currently have, how much they're mining, how much they're generating in income, and everything else like that, based on the amount of shares, everything else. So if we compare them to, also, very important part here, I believe that they are not hodling any Bitcoin. They use the Bitcoin that they do generate to fund their operations. I don't know how I feel about that one. I think you'd be better off doing it where it's a mixture where you hodl a little bit and sell a little bit as well. I'm sure there's a fine line where it makes sense both ways, but I don't know. I mean, it's great for investors because that way you're not diluting shares. So, but it all depends. I could go either way on that one. So if we look at the miner comparison here, I think I put all the information in here that I needed to for you guys. I don't think there's anything else. Monthly Bitcoin production chart here is down here, graph, and then institutions. I'll update that as information comes in. So I'll keep you guys updated on all this stuff. All right, so based on everything that I have here for them, the miner comparison, if we look at them, I got Iris down here. Based, obviously, let me see here. I went too far ahead of myself here a little bit. Okay, so this is on the weekly chart, how weekly, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, and 12 weeks, how the stock has performed. We obviously don't have data going that far back, like I said, because they went public November 17th. But estimated revenue, they are at basically, estimated revenue includes the previous 3 quarters along with the current quarter, which we're in. They are at 35 million. So that would give them to be, well, they're going to be behind pretty much everybody here except for DigiHost, DMG, and Mawson's going to be ahead of them a little bit right now based on the numbers that I have on them. So they're going to be towards the bottom of the group here. And then let me see if we can maybe do this. Let's see here, sort descending. So Iris is at 35, so they're number 3 towards the bottom. And then we got price earnings multiple of PE 20. So that gives them, let's see where they would fit in on all of this. They would come back down here. Where's Iris? There it is. So they're right in the middle here as far as 50%. And then on the 75% net income, we're looking at Iris, right in the middle here. This tells me that they are overvalued by $7.47, which is a negative 44% difference on it. And then their current hash rate, when compared to the other guys, if they get all the miners installed right now this month, they would be at 1.4 exahash. And then that would put them up, let's see who that would put them above, descending. So they would be above Mawson and DigiHost and DMG. They would be below Argo, Hive, and Hut 8, obviously. But they do have a lot going on for them next year, which will obviously increase them to get up higher on here. Based on future hash rate, obviously 15.1 exahash. Operationally, they would be the one that has the most upside as far as future hash rate going into 2023, but that's obviously a long time. And the number of miners installed here, hash rate wise, they would be, let's see on the chart here, descending. They would be in the number 5 spot based on their current miners installed and the miner average hash rate combined. The higher the number, the more efficient you're going to be. So Marathon is going to be is number 1 right now, followed by Riot, followed by CleanSpark, and then you got Mawson and Iris. They do have a lot of, obviously, a mixture of the 90 terahash and the 100 terahash miners in there, so that's why that is the way it is right now. And they also have some of the older miners as well that are like 45 terahash or something like that. Bitcoin hodl, they don't hodl anything, so excuse me, there's no comparison we can make there. But based on this information, they are overvalued right now. All of these guys, all the other guys, for Marathon is way overvalued as well. I mean, pretty much the same amount as they are. If we look at it, Riot is, I think, pretty well, fairly valued. And then obviously CleanSpark is way undervalued, along with DigiHost, Hive, Bitfarms, and Argo are just way undervalued right now. So we'll see how obviously the quarters play out going forward, how many miners they get installed. Infrastructure build out is important. I'd like to know, obviously, if they are going to be doing anything with immersion cooling. I think that would be a better way of going forward. It's a little bit more expensive because you do have to have a lot more equipment, and it does take up more space than your normal racking system where you're just going straight up as high as you can and then going, down a long aisle. So immersion cooling obviously takes up more space, but it is more efficient. You get a higher hash rate out of the miners. The miners do last longer, and you waste less energy that way. Or use up energy. I shouldn't say waste, but use up less energy. So let me know what you guys think of the numbers. Obviously, there's a lot here. If you enjoy these types of videos, I know it's going to be long. I don't even know how long this one's been. Probably close to half an hour maybe. But a lot of details. Obviously, this is a new miner, so going forward, we won't go over all this stuff. We'll just take a look at them and see how they do. But let me know what you think of the numbers. Do you agree with the numbers? If you don't agree with the numbers, or if you think any of my data is wrong, please let me know. I try to be as accurate as I can based on information that's available to me out in public. So that's all I got for you guys. If you do enjoy it, hit the like button, subscribe, notification bell. Helps me out tremendously, and that's all I ask of you guys. Until then, have a great day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.